what this meeting together is about is utterly, totally, and completely beyond any concepts, any ideas, any imaginations of any stories. What we're talking about is so inescapably, intimately the hearing of a voice, feelings in the body, sensations, thoughts, that um, it is as whatever reaction appears, including a kind of, I want to know what um, he's talking about. I want to understand this. It's it's inescapably pulsating through the senses as as everything, and it's just happening, and it's also as um any ideas, any words, but it's when words are taken to be the real and fixed things, then um, then the world and what's been described here can only be objectified in a way, and yet and there is nothing in this for that which is used to acquiring. So the normal ways of the world and the normal ways of meetings are that information is passed from one to another. Something is explained, something is learned, something is imparted, and that's how every kind of interaction normally happens. And then and this meeting is about just this, inescapably this. And so then it's, well, what you mean this? It's as then what you mean? It's this. It's there, and then within that there can be the felt feeling of, well, I'm asking that. I'm asking, and I know to ask, what do you mean by this? And what's being suggested here is that that's just happening, that everything is just happening, and any concepts, ideas, insights would just happen, and that there's no one in there for whom they can happen to, that there's no one under the crown of the head, behind the eyes, operating this. And so then there's thoughts happening, feelings happening, and just life as it is, ordinary life, just this. And that appears like, because of all of how we interact, it appears like this then can be known, because I know everything else. I know the table, I know a thing called life, and they're all, it's kind of just, that's the currency of the world. And this is the, by saying it's beyond knowing, what immediately happens really is that I want to know that it's beyond knowing. I want to be able to say that. And I don't know that it's beyond knowing. It's, these are just words appearing. This is really what's being described here is just inescapably, intimately, whatever is happening. And then what can be said about that? Well, whatever appears to be said, whatever appears to be asked, whatever appears to be thought about that, whatever questions come up would be this as that. And that's kind of like, in a way, this is just a description, appearing. And, you can say it's a description appearing from nothing, but nothing isn't a place. So any questions are the same. They're just questions appearing from nowhere. And of course, it may feel that I'm doing it, but again, the suggestion is that that's just happening. And this sort of meeting will return to just this inescapable immediacy, just this, however it appears to be. And there's no authority on this, on this sort of unbelievableness that doesn't require belief. this happening. There's no authority on what is. There may be apparent authority elsewhere across the world, but it's only apparent. And here, anything can be said. We're here. We're free to just talk and share and ask questions, and whatever will happen, will happen. And let's see how that goes. If you by chance happen to come along to one of these meetings, just click the unmute button and go for it, ask a question or write a comment, and let's see what happens. I see there's a question there. What do you mean by beyond? In a way, there is no getting closer or further away from the attempt to know this. So how can you know your attempt? How can you know or understand your attempt to know this? It's just happening or appearing to happen. There obviously can feels like, well, I am trying to get this and understand that. And that can be actively, felt as a doing, perhaps, I don't know. But from this perspective, it's just happening. And so there's no finding, there's no one finding, and there's no one seeking. There's just appears like questions and responses. As there's just what's appearing, how can there be beyond? I suppose it's just if the question it was in relation to it's beyond understanding, beyond concepts. It's that really the better way of saying that is absolutely nothing to do with concepts and ideas and imaginations and knowledge. Absolutely nothing to do with that. So there is what is can be the felt feeling of trying to understand this, and if that's what is, then that's what is. So there, you could just say there's just an attempt to try and get this and understand this, and then there's apparent response to that, and that would be what is, though. Yeah. A lot of non-duality speakers talk about beyond. Well, you see, there is no beyond. There's no anything at all. If the problem is words are being used, and then when words are being objectified as the real, then that's there's an attempt. It seems like here minimal words are used, even though I seem to talk a lot. The words are kind of it's kind of a way, all you can do with words is use the least ambiguous, the least ones that drive the mind down rabbit holes, so that just seems to be how there isn't fluffy language used here. I rarely talk about liberation, wholeness, oneness. I don't know why, that just seems to be how it is. So in a way, it's impossible because, well, it's utterly impossible because it's as this. It's as the attempt to get this. It's as the sound of this. There's no difference between that. And really, it can be the case that what's being described here, the words being used here, can go to the fore, go to the background, and the flavor to the foreground. That really it's not about what's being described or said, because no words touched this, and yet it's as words, as sounds, it's as this. But it's also as the felt feeling of trying to get this. And for that which is going through the linear path and in time and space trying to get this, that's kind of it's always going to be that case. And then these sorts of meetings are really that kind of movement of trying to get something out of nothing. And it can be exposed then, nothing to do with the words, but it can be exposed then when there's nothing feeding that sort of energy, that the seeking, just the seeking, can be exposed for that, can be exposed for that. Because in a way, there's nothing being offered, and it's no one has been spoken to, and nothing really is being described. And yet beyond that which is used to getting things, somehow still hanging around. And in that is the kind of, that's, you could say, resonance, because really there's nothing in this for the seeker that's used to eating and taking in information. There's nothing in that. And so then yet still hanging around when nothing is offered. So that's the kind of, you could say, resonance, but it's not anyone's resonance, obviously, because it's so nothing to do with the words. There's nothing useful in what's being said here at all. I mean, obviously, conceptually, it can be taken on conceptually, but it'll be repeatedly returned to, well, that's just how it is then. Immediately, however it is, but there really is nothing being described. Is resonance the same as intuition? I think intuition seems to be more of a kind of a sort of an instinct, gut instinct. And I seem to now say resonance is just so utterly beyond anything kind of personal, anything kind of useful, that, there's no reason at all, if you were to look at the personal self, for them to be in a meeting like this. But obviously, there is no personal self. And that's, you could say, the resonance for sort of meetings like this. But it's utterly beyond words, imagination. And a better way of saying it, as opposed to kind of get fixed on words like resonance or intuition, is it's just happening, or just appearing to happen. And then nothing needs to be said about that at all. It's just happening.
Frank, hello. Yet hearing about it, hearing you speak and others, whoever, in a strange way, it confirms what's known, but it seems that language is the actual language, even though the language doesn't describe it. The language is required for the confirmation. It just, that's what seems to be happening with me. I've felt most of my life that I've I haven't known what's been going on. I haven't fitted in anywhere, and because everything seems strange. But I didn't ever have any words for it. Mm. I didn't have a verbal structure for it. Mm. But since the non-duality movement, since I discovered it by virtue of the fact that I couldn't read anymore, and due to sight problem. And I started listening to YouTube, and it was like, oh, that's what's been happening to me all my life. But I thought that there was something that was strange about me that I didn't, because I didn't fit in. And it just has explained. So, and I've had a normal life, 3 children, divorced twice, a number of jobs, all sorts of things have happened, and gone through the motions of all of those things. Yet it hasn't been until I've heard people speak about non-duality that I have understood what my problem was, that I couldn't connect with what was happening around me. I won't speak anymore because I'll just be repeating myself, but that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, so
what am I talking about?
Nothing is required.
No.
And it's, in actual fact, it kind of can be, it's a kind of a paradox in a way. Talking about this makes it seem like it's something that can be talked about. And yet there's a total cluelessness here, and the entire world is just goes around giving the impression of they know that there's a world, they know you're Susan and they're Billy the kid or whoever, and they know everything. And so then it's kind of, then there's the feeling of, well, somebody must know then what, somebody somewhere must know what this clicking of the fingers is, right? And I think that can be a sort of a dilemma when it's not about knowings. And in actual fact, that's what you're describing there, is a sort of an innocence, almost about what innocence is. It could be, that's what the feeling is, that, it's actually nothing can be described or said, and it's nothing to do with words. And also that this is just happening. And that's, so the question that was asked there in the description of life and whatever, that's just happened. And there is no satisfiable, there's no explanation for that. And so then there's no kind of, when this is kind of falls apart, there's no difference between anybody speaking about this and asking any questions about this. It's all a wonderful, stunning mystery that's just happening, you could say. That's the most you could say.
Yes, but the actual words, they seem to unlock an understanding. I don't really know what I'm getting at, so I suppose.
Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting to be. I mean, it's interesting to be drawn, even though it's nothing to do. It's interesting, even though it's nothing to do with words, nothing to do with understanding, and yet there's talking about this. But in a way, it almost, this comes. We are alive as words, because any word becomes objectified, and this continuously, in a way, it seems like that seems to try to eradicate that, or and just bring it back down to the immediacy, the inescapable immediacy of hearing, feelings, thoughts, and the inexplicableness of that. That's what it seems like. This, you say, communication is about, a kind of a return to the just happening, the non-doership of any thing. And that's the kind of, so it's an interesting one. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting that we're talking, this is about talking, and yet nothing to do with the words. And and no one can gain from this. But then there's somewhere then beyond the words that there's a sort of a felt freedom in the interactions. It can be the case.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just also, Susan, in a way, you see, everything, it's an utter mystery, and no story about coming together or the understanding, or it kind of just dissolves away. Do you know what I mean? And it's just then wondrously this, this interaction, this, you could call it an interaction, it's already telling the story. And that's where it's this. And then after that,
even the pleasure of the interaction is something that I've decided to own. Right? It's beyond. It's that comes in afterwards. It's something that
it's just happening. She doesn't know how to do anything.
It doesn't matter.
But like that's just happening also. You don't know how to do a thing. You know what I mean? You don't know how not to do a thing. You don't know how to stop thinking, to start thinking, to stop feeling, start feeling, to ask a question. It just seems to be that there's a kind of an appearance of a claimer, but that's also just happening. How could you not do the claiming? Or it's all just a story, like. Oh, and so what can be said? It's just what's appearing. There's just this, however that is, But there is a sort of a kind when no one is being spoken to and nothing is being explained, and it's just evidently just happening. There's a sort of kind of a freedom in the and it doesn't matter, it's not that you could be talking about the serious most whatever thing, and that's just happening till
Hi, Frank.
yeah.
I was just thinking, I love that you don't know what you're saying. This is amazing. Like these words are coming out about whatever is happening, and in that is also no one knowing that. This is beautiful. It's just beautiful.
And
Yeah.
it's the exact same there. So
Yes.
there might have been a thought, boom,
Yes.
and then the whatever, but it's just happening. That's the same. It's the same kind of.
Yes.
There's no difference. No difference. But all that sometimes can be the case that okay, well, there might be a question or there might be whatever, but that's also nothing as that. So no clue, yeah. And that's why, in a way, you could say the total relief is that it has nothing to do with any kind of held knowledge, any kind of experience, any kind of idea. It's just question, response, and
Yes.
or comment, response, or whatever. And yeah, it's if it was anything it would be very heavy. You know, it would be. It's just, you know, you just turn on the computer,
It
question,
would be
response.
focused.
It would be
Yeah,
focused. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine that, to be honest. Yeah.
Ah.
Mm.
Hmm. Hmm. So lovely.
Mm.
I'm just sitting here and there is this perfect, like there are these shrubs and the sun and the wind and like then this whatever meeting and it's like wonderful. It's like I don't have words. It just makes me in this, yeah, I just, whatever word I would like to put on it, it would be not hitting home.
Isn't it amazing that it's also as whatever word I put on it, it wouldn't hit home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's inescapably, intimately, however, whatever is happening. It's yeah.
Yes, and I can't separate anymore the speaking from the wind. It's like, yeah, it's the same in a way, in a way it's the same movement. It's in a way the same art. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Lovely, lovely. And is it hot in Ireland as well? Here it is like effing hot, 40
Well,
degrees almost in 1 hour, I think.
we never get good weather, so there's no complaining allowed. But it's a
Oh, that's
little,
cool.
it's 20, maybe 28 degrees here today.
Oh,
I was down in the beach place there earlier this morning. I came up and it's a little bit cooler with the sea breeze, and
yeah.
yeah.
So Ireland is spared from the heat wave, and even the heat wave in Ireland is still a nice warm weather.
Well, we have been. It's just. I mean, it's good weather. It's good weather now. We're
It's good.
taking it. Yeah, yeah. Everybody's
Yeah.
out. It's
Yoo-hoo.
lovely. Yeah, it really is. Like,
Dive
yeah,
in the sea. Woohoo.
yeah, yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Ah, nice.
One degree in Australia.
Ooh.
Yeah, man, it's freezing. It's so crazy. So Frank, so everything comes from nothing and from nowhere. Everything that is happening, and it's not even happening really.
Nothing's happening,
It's just like coming from nowhere.
and nowhere isn't a place. There's not one word that'll get close to this. It's immediately as that question there.
This is totally ununderstandable.
And as that is as this is totally ununderstandable. That's just then thump happening. And what can be said? This is nothing happening, nothing appearing to happen. And then after that, it's a story, endless, boundless stories. And it won't be known then as a thing, a part that can be seen as nothing is happening. It's as this, it's swimming in. So whatever reaction, thought, feeling, whatever, is this as that. It's everything. And it won't be known, and you won't be able to know, nor will you be able to know your attempt to know this. That's the inescapableness. But you see, we're used to getting food, eating the food, getting information, learning from, and this is as everything.
See, you don't have, I know you don't and you don't have anything, but you don't have any sense of time.
Unless it's coffee time. It's the idea of being a time, space, self. It's all connected, really. You know, it's all the same, really. And I don't have suddenly then a view, oh, this is timeless. It's just that all the ideas, held ideas of time, of moving through life, of being able to figure out what I'm going to say, what I'm going to think, how I'm going to be, they're all gone. And then somehow then at the same time, there's a description appearing. The problem with the description appearing, it seems like something is being described, and yet it's intimately, inescapably then just what's happening. So,
Yeah.
but then that's the same there. That's just, that question is just happening.
It's weird.
Well, no one in there asking a question, yeah, just a question. It's not only
Yeah.
weird in terms of the world, it's the most outrageous. And yet, what we're talking about is just hearing of a voice, breathing, feelings, whatever. And that's a story, but it's kind of as limited as the story appears to get. We're not talking about things far apart or, you know, over there. We're talking just this. And so then the feelings, no, don't tell me it's asking the question. It can't be that, Frank. And yet it is as that.
Ay.
Shit, isn't it? Imagine you've never thought a thought, said a word, done a thing. It's just there, even that laughter, everything. You can't do that. It's just, again, what's happening. And that doesn't require any understanding, belief, knowledge, wisdom. It's the absence of all that. Is there anything else, Orna, that you
Oh no, thank you, thank you.
That's
Sorry.
okay. It's just so just in case if there was, just but there's a
Thank
comment.
you.
Not at all. Um,
I can't say. I always come to the same. Like, what else can we say? What can I say?
hmm.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah, it is as that then. That's what is. What else can be said? There actually is nothing that can be said, but it
No.
appears as what else can be said. So it's just you're not in there doing anything. Imagine
It's
you're
just
not
the
laughing. There's just laughing. And it's utterly unimaginable, and yet also includes the
totally.
attempt to imagine what that might be like. But it's as the attempt to imagine what that would be like. So you can't get it's if it was a thing that could be known, it could then be described and be a part. But it's as intimately as everything.
Yeah. It's funny. Sometimes it feels like so far away, as intimate as it is, and immediate. I don't know how to describe it even.
Mm. Then and to hear that it's as the feeling that it's far away is just utterly impossible. But it is as that. You can't get closer or further away from what
Yeah.
is. There's just what is, and that won't be then known as a thing called what is. So there's no point even saying there's just what is. Any sentence is no good, really. It's in this flavor, some sort of interaction here. It's nothing to do, it's as this. And it does seem in most scenarios that we're talking about something. It's just talking. It's just, this is
Yeah.
just then, and nothing is being described. And that's nothing then with maybe some questions or thoughts or comments. And this is nothing as responses. But it won't then be known. You could use any single word and it will always kind of, well, what's this nothing place, Frank? This is this nothing place. This. So that, you could just clap these fingers and it would be as that. And then, and also, well, I want to know that, but it is as I want to know that then.
I don't care if I don't know anything. Well, the feeling is that I don't know anything anyway, but
Mm.
I don't care if I don't know that there is nobody here.
All that
But
shit, yeah.
I can't put my finger on what is the yearning, what is the wanting the here.
It's just yearning, you could say. It can be, or if that's a description of what's been felt, then that's what is. But you could read 50 million books and study for 10,000 years and you'd never know how to do yearning. You'd never know how to do it. How would you do yearning? How do you do not yearning?
No.
How do you do anything? And really then it's end of times then. It's end of the story. There's just yearning. And then there kind of be a feeling of, yeah, but yearning won't be there then when, the blah, 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 blah. How do
Yeah.
you know? What do you know? How do you know? You don't know anything. What are you talking about? Then you're creating an image in the mind of what this would be like then.
Yeah.
But it's obviously can't be yearning. Why can't, well, what do you mean it can't be yearning? It says everything. It's already this. There's already no one.
I can see that I can't do yearning, but I can do riding on a bicycle. You know what I mean? Like
Well, that's what's been described then, that you can do it. Or it could be also that there's just riding on a bicycle and there's thoughts about riding on a bicycle and wondering, is there going to be a car coming, and bracing, watching out for that, and feelings of holding whatever onto the bike, and any vibrations and hitting a pothole, and the full onness of all of that. And included in that then is the description of, I am cycling the bike, Fran. And if that's what's been described and felt, then that's what's been described and felt, you know. But it can also be said that that's just happening, just cycling a bike. And that's a total, unfathomable, inescapable mystery. And it's named as, I know it to be named cycling on a bike, but it's not, you know, you could write 10 million novels about the cycling of a bike. It still wouldn't be cycling the bike, though. And you could read them as well, and it still wouldn't be cycling the bike. Cycling the bike is as that then. That would be what is. And whatever story about that is being told, then that's what is.
It's so untouchable.
And yet includes saying it's so untouchable. Don't, Frank, fuck off. It has the laughing, it has the feelings, it has the thoughts. You can't escape. So it wonderfully appears as that.
The sense of the mystery is so strong here. It's like we'll never know what we want to know. We'll never get what we want to get.
Well, if that's what's been described there, then, you know, if you, but I mean, that's what, you know, it's kind of looking, it's almost always, we won't get what we want, will we? Will we won't? You know, it's just
words, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. There's more stories and little, like, it's always little subtle,
Wow.
you know, and even mystery is a mystery. Nothing is knowable. There can be names that, but it won't, you know, it's a kind of, you could say it's a mystery that, and that's the same as the newness or freshness that it's just nothing to do with language and an image of things and an image of how it could be. You know what I mean? It's this, like,
Yeah.
well, what do you mean it's this? What it's as that then? That's the reaction to it's this.
Wow.
It's been
That's
done.
so
You're being
crazy.
done, you could say, but there's no one doing anything. So then, and the amazing thing is it's so intimately as every but, every thought, every idea. That's there's the feeling of it. But now even those deepy ones there now, I'm doing those ones. I'm that Frank. Okay. It could also be just what's happening.
And it's not even happening.
Not a word, yeah.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. A couple of comments in the as a description using the word pulse signifying aliveness, I taken a body's pulse to check if it's dead or alive, and it's on slash offness, is this somehow in a kind of parallel with the everything nothingness? Don't know really. There's just this isiness, really. And then beyond that, everything else, a kind of a story to make it knowable or apart from. And yeah. There's another, how can there be both? There's just what's happening and there's nothing happening. Okay, well, whatever. Neither one makes a difference. In a way, you can say if it is utterly unimaginable to say that this is nothing is happening, because it includes then the attempt to understand that there's nothing happening. So you could say that it's just the happening, or you could say this is absolutely nothing, full to the brim with the hearing of this is nothing. But it's immediately this, not further away. It's as that question, it's as this response, and it's just for not even its own sake. It's just a sharing, and it's not even a sharing. So it won't be known as a thing apart that's called, oh, there's just what's happening. I don't know that there's just what's happening. I don't know that there's nothing happening. They're just sentences appearing. And then the movement is, but you can't be talking like that, like Frank. You need to know that there's nothing happening. And then we're back in the game of knowing, understanding, sharing, explaining, or explaining. And that's not what this is about. It's a let's say it's a meeting. Another question: does everyone already know this? Yeah, absolutely, but it's not the knowing part. It's that sort of innocence about. This is kind of like, this is childlike wonder, wondering what childlike wonder is. It's as this it is total innocence. The total innocence is as everything appearing as a question, though. Because that question appearing is a total mystery. And it won't be known then as a thing apart as a total mystery, but it's a total mystery. As this response, total mystery. That's really what's known already. And what the overlay is the attempt to kind of want to understand that. And then the response is kind of seems to be minimalized or brought down to use as minimal words. And it's, so that's what you can say, well, there's nothing happening. But that won't be known as a thing apart. Or we could sit in silence, and then that'll be something imagined in that too. That's just happening, that movement to try and get and understand. But absolutely, it's already known as not the best word, because then that it's always, but it is that. It's the kind of innocence, the blankness, the kind of emptiness, and yet it is emptiness as a question, though. That's the killer. So there's already no one in there asking that question. It's just happened. But that actually is already, that is felt or whatever, but it's just, oh, I don't know. Seem to be come to a stop there with that then. But yeah, it's already, this is already home. It's already over. There's already no one in there. And there's no reason to go and grab a stupid microphone or put up a website, but that can be what will happen. There'll be nothing to say. There'll be nothing to volunteer or explain. It won't be a having. There absolutely won't be a having of any description. You won't even have the sound of your own voice or the hearing of a voice or the thought that's appear or the feelings. You won't have an inch. And yet,
Frank,
yeah.
and even this is not really happening. It's like, it's a bit as if this is like in a pre-recorded movie somehow. It's like, to me at least, it's like, it's amazing. Like this body mind now speaking, not knowing what is going to be said, and these little pictures popping up there, and yeah, and it's like even that is not really happening. It's
No.
amazing in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can say where you can use words like unfolding, but then that suggests a kind of
Yes,
a
a stretch.
linear. So then we don't use that, it seems like. And yeah, but it's wonderfully, mystically, magically as everything like. And so every word's coming out, every thought, every feeling, and it's just what can be said? Just
Uh-huh.
oh. And it's a yeah, it's killer as well, because then it can seem like something is being described.
Yeah.
And that's why less flavorsome language is more loving. That's stupid language I'm using there, but it's all any kind of ideas of explaining, or it's just all rubbish. Like, it's so yuck. You know what I mean? It's yeah.
And none of apparently us has a choice. It's like amazing, because even that what you said, like, it's like automatic in a way. It's like everything is like, I can, it's amazing. Yeah, it's like, yeah, and
And
it's with choiceless, completely choiceless. It's not that anyone was choosing to make on the laptop, to start the recording, whatever. It's like, yeah, no choice, not at all, not a tiny bit.
yeah. I including any, like, there's choices appear to be made, but
Yes,
no one's doing them.
yes,
So it's no one's doing an inch.
yes.
Mm. Yeah.
12:32.
I just is it thinking that creates the seeming problem, even though thoughts are also this? No, it's fully as thoughts then, and imaginings. You're just, she couldn't, you don't know how to think. It's as everything. So there's not anything that's not this. And yes, ice cream is it also. Yeah. Wonderfully and horribly, and everything is this, however it is. All right. Thank you all. And I might see some of you later. There's another meeting this evening. I think it's 7:30.